So hope you people are able to see my screen. Welcome once again for our day two session, where we have in our previous session we saw that what are the prerequisites that we have in terms of working with Playwright. What are the things that we have to install to work with Playwright? That is like system requirement, installation part, and other things that we have understood that what is difference between Cypress, Playwright, how do we install, why do we install those kind of things, and what will be the use of these installation whenever we try to install Node.js, Visual Studio Code, and Playwright. In that way, we have also seen like there are different kind of things that it has generated over here. As soon as we install Playwright framework over here, it generated few modules, like few of the modules that it had generated, which is like node modules, something which is for the reporting section over here, something for the result again, different kind of test result over here, a test folder, get ignore, package -log.json, package.json, and playwright.config.js. So this playwright.config.js is also known as a global configuration file for Playwright, and it is also known as test runner file. Okay, so it is also known as a test runner file. What is the use of this file is, whatever we have written inside this, we generally did not write anything over here. We have not written anything over here inside this file that you see. But what is the use of this is, whenever you try to run the test case, whenever you try to execute a test case, before execution of the test case, it will try to connect with this particular file. This is also known as test runner file as well. So it will try to connect with this file, and whatever the value that we have given, first what it will do is it will check, okay, where is the test directory? What is the test directory doing over here is, this is the folder where it will try to scan all the test case that we have available inside our system. So this will try to check what are the different files that are available inside our system. What are the different test cases that are available inside the file? Okay, there are different options over here, which generally we do not require to discuss right now. Whenever we start Playwright, at that point of time, we'll go in complete detail of understanding what are the different files that it has generated at the time of installation of Playwright. Okay, and then a few of the other details that we have inside the projects are that it has given the complete details of the browser that basically Playwright supports. Okay, so here you can see like it has given Chromium browser, Firefox browser, WebKit, which is also known as Safari browser. This is for mobile browser for the Android, Safari for iOS browser, then Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome. So it has given automatically over here. We did not even write a single line of code till now inside this particular file. So earlier, if you remember in our first session, we talked about if you want to take the screenshot of inside the test case, or if you want to generate the test recording, that means video recording of the test cases, Playwright will automatically support those kind of things as well. And we do not have to write even a single line of code to generate screenshot and to generate the big test recording of our whatever the test that we try to run, right? So that is possible because of this configuration file, because of this global configuration file that Playwright has given over here. Inside this file, we can go to a huge section. This is whatever you see inside the curly braces is known as JavaScript object. We'll start JavaScript from our next session onwards, where we'll go through with the complete. We'll see like what is the prerequisite, and we'll start with the basics of JavaScript from tomorrow onwards. And there we'll see one concept will be known as object in JavaScript. So object in JavaScript is something which we write inside a curly braces, and that will be a collection of key and value pair. All the key and value pair will be separated with a colon symbol. That is known as object in JavaScript. Okay, so there is a use object over here. A use is available as an object inside this particular file. And inside this file, we can simply say it as screenshot:on. So as soon as you say screenshot:on, this will automatically start taking the screenshot whenever we start running the test case. And in the same way, we also can say it over here as video:on. And whenever we say like video, that means it will also automatically generate the test recording of whatever the test that will be executing over here. Okay, so it will also start recording of the test cases as well as soon as we start running the test case. So that is where I said, whenever we start running the test case, before it start execution of the first line of code, it will come to this particular file. Whatever the value that we have given, depending on that value, it will start running the test case. Okay, now also, if you people get any kind of doubt or have any kind of questions, please feel free to ask inside. Feel free to ask or drop a message over here. What is, I do not see anything under the pwjs folder like node modules. Am I missing something? So you have to basically install Playwright over there. You have to install Playwright. Are you joining as a first? Is it your first session?
Hey, Praveen. No, actually, I did install it. I just my name was under my son's name, so
Okay, okay, okay. I'll check it out with you if it is not available anything inside your system. Okay. So that's what happened. Like whenever you, let's say this by default has given couple of test case over here. So let's start running the test case once. So to run the test case inside Playwright, to run the complete test case inside Playwright, at the time of installation, this has given few commands over here. So if you could have looked into that, it says that to run the end-to-end test case, we have a command known as npx playwright test. We'll go through with it again in greater detail manner going forward. So if you just say it as npx playwright test, it will start running the test case. Just to know that Playwright by default will run the test case in a headless mode. Headless mode means it will not open any browser and you will not be able to see the execution of the test case. And you can see like it is saying all the 6 test cases have been passed. We have only 2 test cases, but as we have given 3 different browser over here, so all those 2 test cases have completed running on all the 3 different browsers. Now, if you try to open the report, this report should have been generated inside a playwright-report as a part of HTML over here in form of index.html. So what you can do is you can open this folder, which is playwright-report, and inside this, you can go to index.html, right click and copy path over here. And depending on whatever the browser that you are trying to use, you can simply go there and copy paste. And you'll see this kind of report it has generated over here. This is an HTML report by default will be generated by Playwright. We have not written any kind of code. The only thing that it has done is inside the configuration file, it has written a key known as reporter and it has given a value as HTML. That means it will generate the report in the form of HTML. Now, if you go inside any of the test case over here, you'll see the detail of the test case, the complete log file, whatever the step that it has followed, whatever the code that we have written inside each and every step, all the details it will display over here. It has also taken the screenshot of the test case automatically, and it has also generated the video recording as well. So you can watch it through over here, what the action that it has performed, what happened, like when it started running the test case and so on. So all those details you will be able to see inside this recording. So this is how the recording will also be generated after the execution of the test case. And this is something where we generate the screenshot of the page. Okay. And then there is something known as traces as well. So traces means the complete log file it will start generating. What we have given over here is we have given as on first retry. That means we have said that only generate the traces when there are any failure inside the test case. Okay. But now if you again try to run this test case, this time let's try to run the test case in a headed mode. So sorry, there are different ways in which we can run the test case. By default, Playwright will run in headless mode. If you want to run in a headed mode, there are two options. One is you can provide over here that minus headed. And second option is inside the use or inside the use of any of the browser, you can simply go and place it over here as headless as a false. Headless false means this will open the browser and then it will start running the test case on the browser. We'll also be able to see that it has opened the browser, different kind of browser, whatever we have given, and on that browser, it will start running the test case. So all the details you'll be able to see over here, right? And again, this will generate the report, which is index.html. This is one way that you can open the report, playwright-report. Inside playwright-report, you can go and then validate the index.html. Second is, after completion of the test case, it will also provide you the command that you can run to open the report. So to open the report, the command is npx playwright show-report. And as soon as you press enter over here, this will again display the similar kind of report that it has displayed over here. Okay, and now this time you will also be able to see the traces that it has generated. So what is this trace? Traces is something, we'll try to write one test case and then we'll show you like how beautiful this traces used to be and what is the help of, what is the use of this particular traces will be inside our system, inside our test case. So in that case, for our second day, we will be having in our first day, we have seen like installation part. In the second day, we'll start writing few of the test case. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll start working on JavaScript first. Okay, so let's try to, the agenda of today is to write a simple test case using Playwright and JavaScript to see like how do we write the test case. Even if you are not getting any kind of things, do not worry. We'll have to go through before jumping on writing any of the test case. We have to go through with complete details of the locators, that how do we identify the element on the web page, how do we have to write the locators to identify the element on the web page by writing different kind of combinations of locator that Playwright support. After that, we'll also see one of a tool that Playwright has given is known as CodeGen tool. So CodeGen tool is a tool which will automatically generate. So however we write the test case, however we generate the test script using Playwright, we'll see that it will also be able to generate in the same way. And next we'll see a Playwright inspector tool, which is similar to the traces that it has generated. And this tool will be helpful for us in terms of debugging purpose. Okay, so this tool will be helpful for us in terms of debugging purpose. Okay. Now, let's start with writing a simple test case by using Playwright and JavaScript over here. So for that, we'll use this particular URL over here. This is a website which is also an e-commerce website, which will basically is available for placing some kind of order. We have different kind of website we'll be going through in our sessions. One of them is this one. So this is the URL where this URL redirects us to the registration page over here. So it is asking us to register some values, register some user over here so that we'll get the login page. And by using that login page, we can log in into the application. Okay, so let's try to see how do we automate the test case.
Sorry, Praveen, before you proceed, can we have got some few hands up here? But can we have this question, sir? In terms of the features, right? You did mention that cross-browser testing. It supports cross-browser testing with various browsers. One of the great feature in Playwright. We can see that we got Firefox, Chrome, and Safari there. Can we get the Edge as well? Like, how many does it supports there? I mean, in the config file, I've seen 3 of them so far. Is that right?
There are 7 different browsers that you can see inside the configuration file. One is Chromium, Firefox, Safari browser. Then we have something known as mobile browser for Android. This is for which is basically disabled over here. You can, by just uncommenting this, you can enable
Okay,
this one.
thanks.
And then we have Edge browser over here, and then we also have a Google Chrome available over here.
Okay.
So all these are available over here inside the browser. And if you want to run the test case on different browser, you'll also be able to see over here. You can simply run the test case by simply saying it as, let's say, whatever the command that we have used previously, which is npx playwright test -- headed. And in this case, you will see like all the 7 different browser will start. All the test case will start running on 7 different browser that we have seen over here. It will also start running on the browser simulation of the phone. This is an iOS phone. If you see over here, that was an iOS. Safari inside, available inside iOS.
And
This is this.
In terms of those browsers, and it will take the latest version, right? Not the old versions or -1 version.
Right.
Okay.
That will take the latest version of the browser.
Only one version, first latest one. Okay.
Only one latest version. Yes.
Okay, thanks. If you wanted to change it to the versions like older versions, let's say if some test needs to be run in iPhone 13 or like iPhone 10, like can we still configure those, right?
You can define it over here, whatever the phone
versions
that you are trying to define. If you are trying to go for a browser version, like let's say Chrome browser, Firefox browser, then you have to move back to the previous version of the Playwright. So every previous version of the Playwright support different kind of versions of the browser. So currently, if you see over here, we have 1.50, which is latest, very latest one, which have been recently deployed around 2 weeks back.
Right.
Okay, you can see like the latest version that have been published 4 days ago. Right. So there was like 2 weeks back, there were 1.50.0. 4 days ago, it have been deployed to one version over here. So every time, within 2 weeks of time, they'll try to generate some kind of new version, and by upgrading some kind of things inside the Playwright.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. I hope I saw one of a question that was available. I hope this should have been generated. This basically should have been solved over here. Are you going to cover TypeScript in the future? So this course is mainly depending on the Playwright using JavaScript. Also, I'll show you that what is difference over here in terms of the TypeScript. Difference between the JavaScript and TypeScript, but complete details, like anyways, when I show you like what used to be the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript, you'll understand, and then either you create a test case inside, like using JavaScript or TypeScript that you can define, that you can basically create in any of the languages that you can go over. Kavita, you can post over here your screenshot of the error. People will try to answer. If it is not able to, if you are unable to get the reply, a success replies, then you can start sharing your screen after our completion of the session. If you don't mind, please, I'll try to cover up a few of the things in our session today to at least check like how do we create the test case inside Playwright. Please try to share your screenshot inside the chat, and people will try to answer. If it is not getting resolved, then I'll connect with you on the same base after our session. Okay, so what generally happen in terms of test automation is, so let's say we have inside our organization, whenever we start running inside our organization. Inside our organization, there were a couple of things. What happened in terms of this is you first any of the website will directly not jump to the automation part. So first thing that will be going through is one thing that will be going through is to validate like manually whether the application is working or not. If it is not working, then there is no need of going for automation. If it is working perfectly, our application is stable, then only we'll go for the test automation, right? So let's say if this kind of value, this kind of application that we have given for the testing, how do we do the testing over here? So first thing that we'll be doing is we'll use any of the browser and launch the URL on that particular browser, right? We'll use any of the browser and that browser will launch the URL, whatever the URL that we have given. So what will be the first step? Let's remove all the other things over here. I'll just keep this one, which we have discussed in our session that yesterday session, that whenever we try to write the test case, we also have to um, we also have to basically import some of the things, and that some of the things is test and expect. We are currently importing from Playwright test module, which will help us in writing the test and writing the assertion. So how do we start writing the test in terms of Playwright is by using a test. This test will accept a couple of parameters. One is title, second will be a function, and third is an optional, which is details, which will go through in a later part of our session. So I'll just say it as, let's say, first test case. And then we have to write a function over here. Okay, do not worry, how do we create a function? We'll go in complete detail inside the JavaScript, and then we'll jump over here. And that is where I first go with the JavaScript, and then we'll come to the Playwright understanding. But let's see how useful this used to be in terms of writing the test case in Playwright without utilizing or without getting the support from any third-party tool inside the Playwright. So what will happen in terms of a manual testing is we'll launch the URL on some browser, launch the URL on any of the browser, right? And after that, we'll try to fill whatever the value over here. So we'll see that, okay, this is a user registration, which accepts a first name, last name, username, password, and confirm field, confirm password. How do I know that this field is a first name? How do I know that this field is a last name, or this field accept a last name? Or let's say, how do I know that this is a password field or confirm password? This happens generally, we visualize some kind of elements on the page. We visualize, right? We generally see that, okay, this field is available for first name, this field is available for last name, username. We cannot directly go and enter the first name inside the confirm password, right? And we cannot enter the password inside the first name over here. Like that way it generally will not work. So what we generally do in terms of a manual testing is we visualize what kind of elements are available on the page, and then depending on what the action that we have to perform, we go and perform the action on that particular thing. Let's say I know that this is a login button and I have to click on login button. So I'll click on this login button. If I have to log in, then I'll click on this login button. But we cannot directly click on Swagger button and see the login page are displaying or not, right? In that case, we generally visualize the element, whatever is required for us in terms of testing, right? In the same way, here also we'll visualize this is the first name field, this is the last name field, username field, password, and confirm password. So what happened in terms of another step is like fill all the details, fill all the required details on the registration page, right? So on the registration page, how do we fill that? By just entering some of the value. And also in that case, we'll try to see where are we trying to enter what kind of data. So in that field, we'll only be using those kind of value itself. Okay, whatever the value that it requires here. So in that way, we'll use like password inside the password field, confirm password inside the confirm password field, and so on. So that happens usually by visualization. And now third is just to click on what the button over here is. Also select the gender over here and then click on register button. Like this is how we basically go ahead in terms of the manual testing for this particular testing, this type of testing over here. This is what we have to do in terms of the automation as well. The first step that we have to launch the URL on the browser. Second step, fill all the required details inside the registration page. And third is, after selecting the gender, we have to click on the register button. Now, this is what is the test automation. Whatever we have done over here by manually navigating through, that is what we have to do in terms of the test automation, in terms of automating the steps that we have manually gone through. And that is what known as test automation. Automating something, whatever we do manually, whatever we follow the process of going through it manually, writing the script for the similar step is known as test automation. Okay. Now, in this case, we are trying to write some kind of code over here. Whatever the steps that we'll be writing, we are trying to write some kind of code over here. Now, how will that code identify what is the first name? In terms of manual testing, we visualize, but how does our code will understand that what is the first name, what is the last name, where is username, where is password, and confirm password? And that is where locators comes into picture. That is where, in terms of test automation, locators comes into picture. Locators will help us in identifying the elements on the web page. Okay. Now, whenever we try to write a locator, we'll be writing a locator in such a way that will identify first name, that will identify last name. And whenever it identifies whatever the action that we have to perform, we can easily perform there. That's where comes the locator, to identify the element and then perform some kind of actions. Okay. So let's try to see how do we do that. You can forget about like async and the next and that. I'll be writing await over here. We'll go through in our later sessions that why are we trying to write async await over here. We have also written a page. This is known as a page fixture. A fixture is a special type of method that Playwright has given. Fixture is a special type of method that Playwright has given, which performs some kind of operation, which is launching the browser as well as closing the browser. Okay, this will again discuss in detail, in very detail, as soon as we start the real session of the Playwright. The real session in the sense, real test automation for the Playwright. We're just trying to see one odd test case that we are trying to check. How do we generally automate the test case using Playwright? So this is the page that is available over here, which will automatically launch the browser. What kind of browser? Whatever the browser that we have enabled over here inside the fixtures file, like inside the configuration file. Okay. Now, inside a Playwright, there are n number of methods that it has given to work with test automation. One of them is known as locator. So locator is a method which helps us in identifying the element on the web page. There are few specific Playwright method as well that it has given, known as get by locators. There are few get by methods that Playwright has given, which allows locating an element with there's some specific attribute. Okay, so let's go through over here and identify the element and see how do we write the locators. So here we have whenever we try to go and write the locator, how do we go and write the locator is, or how do we write the locator is? You can go to the application, right click on that and go to the inspect, and from there we can click on this arrow symbol that you see over here, and whatever the element that you are trying to identify, you can click on that element. Currently, we have one placeholder as an attribute. This will again go through in detail, like whenever we'll go for understanding what is DOM element. Okay, so there is one attribute known as placeholder. This is the attribute known as placeholder. So whenever we have an attribute known as placeholder for any of the element, whatever the value that you see over here, placeholder equals to this, form control name equals to this, class name equals to this, and so on, ID equals to this, and so on. These are basically an attribute for an element, a properties for an element. So in that case, we have one attribute known as placeholder. Whenever we have an attribute known as placeholder, we can simply use get by placeholder as a method. And whatever the value that we have for the placeholder, we can define it as a parameter inside this get by placeholder. What it says is, as per the definition, it says that it allows locating an element by using. Can you please mute yourself if you are not able to, if you're not speaking any kind of things? Please try to mute yourself. Thanks. Now, what we are trying to do over here is, it says that it allows locating input elements by the placeholder text. By the placeholder text, that means we need to have an attribute known as placeholder. And whatever the value that we have for an attribute, we can simply use get by placeholder and then value inside the parameter. Okay, and now what we are trying to do inside this particular application, we are simply trying to fill first name, right? So in that case, we have a method that Playwright has given is known as fill. Fill is a method which is used to fill the text value inside input field, inside any of the input field. So we can write it over here as, let's say, testing. I've just given some random value over here. So this, what it will do is it will go and fill the value inside the first name. Again, we can try to identify the last name if there are any other values. So we have last name over here, which is having this particular attribute known as placeholder as last name. Again, we have a placeholder, so we can simply use, if placeholder is an attribute available, we can simply go ahead and use the get by placeholder over here. There are different ways in which we can write the locator, in which we can perform the locating an element on the web page. Whatever is the easiest way, we'll try to perform in our today's session, and then we'll go through in our schedule. Whenever we'll go through in our schedule, as per our schedule, you'll see that we have 2 days of session where we'll try to cover up locator supported by Playwright and special type of locator that Playwright has given. Okay. Again, we have to enter some kind of value. So I'll just say it as, let's say, test as a last name that we are trying to fill over here. And after that, we have username, password, and confirm password as a field. So we'll quickly write for these 3 fields as well, whatever the value that we have for username, for password, and then for other values. So we have a username field over here, which is identifying this one. And inside this, we have something known as a username as a text value. What is text? Will again explain. Or we also have a ID available over here. So this is the ID which is available as a ID for this particular username field. And whenever we have an ID as a property, in terms of CSS selector, we can simply write the locator by saying hash and then value of the ID that we have. Value of the ID is this one. So I have just copy pasted over here and said hash and then ID value over here. This will identify the element using ID attribute of the element on the web page. So we can simply say it as we have used ID, we have not used any specific locator that Playwright has given, locator method that Playwright has given. So we can simply write a page.locator, and this time we have used ID over here. So it says that locator is a method which accepts a selector as a parameter, and it will help us in identifying the element on the web page again. So there are different ways, as I said earlier, there are different ways in which we can identify the element on the locator. We can again go and do, let's say I'll just say it as testing. 123 as a username, and we also have a password, so we can simply say it as await. We have a password over here as it is a password. For this also we have ID over here available, so we can again go and try to access with the ID property, and this is again able to identify it as a unique element, so we can again go and write it page.locator, and then we can write it right inside the locator over here, saying that this one. And here also we have to fill some password. So the password that we have to fill, I'll just say it as, let's say, password at 123. And inside the confirm password as well, we have to fill the similar value, because password and confirm password has to match over here. And for this as well, we have, for each, most of the element nowadays will have an ID available. So if ID is available, it is pretty simple to write the locator. You can simply write the locator by appending it with hash whenever we have an ID property available for any of the element. And we can simply write the locator by using a locator method of the Playwright, and then we can say it as fill over here. This time also the confirm password we are trying to write, so it should be similar to the password that we have filled inside over here. And now the other field that we have is a male and female, so we'll select any value from here. We have let me see, what is this one. This is a class name that we have, which is identifying 3 different one. So here we have a class name for this radio button. This is basically a radio button on the element. This is a radio button, which you can either select a male or female from this gender list, right? For that we have a class name over here, which is saying MDC radio, MDC-radio, right? Whenever we have a class name available, class attribute available for any of the element, we can simply write a locator by saying dot and then class name. This will also identify, but most of the time the class name might be same for most of the element. So we can also append it with div.className. What is div? Div is a division tag that it has given over here to develop the radio button. We'll discuss this in our later session. So we can also write a locator by saying it as await page.locator by using the class name that we are trying to write. And then I'll say it as first over here. And why did we write a first? Because this locator, if you see, this is matching 2 different elements. 1 of 2. That means there are 2 elements. Our required elements which we are trying to select is a male. So that is the first element, and that is why we have used a first method over here, which will return locator to the first matching element on the web page. And then we have a method known as check. Check is a method which will basically click on the radio button and checkbox. And now this is not only the things. Currently, we are just writing the fields over here. Later on, we'll also see like whatever the value we have written over here, it is really getting filled inside the input field or not. That means we also have to write the assertion whether this is really basically getting entered, or whatever the value that we are trying to fill inside the input field is really filling or not. Okay, so those kind of assertions will check again in our other sessions. So let's write an assertion for this gender button to check whether whatever the value that we are trying to select is really selected or not. For that, we can take the help of expect function that we have imported over here, which is again available inside a Playwright test. And then we can say it out page.locator. What is the locator? Whatever the element that we have selected over here for the radio button, we are trying to say that page.locator, if it has really been successfully clicked, that means checked, then it should be checked over here. Page.locator.to be checked. Okay, so to be checked is a method which and where it is not able to identify. So to be checked is a method which generally help us in checking whether the element, whether the checkbox or radio button that we have checked in the previous step have really checked or not. Okay, so this will simply ensure the locator points to a checked input. Whatever the value that we are trying to check, whether that have been checked or not, this will just try to validate it. And after that, we have to click on the register button. So let's see what happened in this case. So I'll just enter a text and some values over here. Username can be some other things. Password can be some values which will again accept over here. Let's say I'll just say it as some values and some values for this selected and this. As soon as you click register, there will be some values appear and it will redirect us to the login page. Okay, so let's try to click on the register over here, register button, and we'll validate whether it is redirecting us to the login page or not. Okay, so for register, we have a text available as register over here. And this, let's try to see, there are three different text available as register over here. We also have a class name, which let's see if it is able to identify with the class name, which is having as a span dot this one. This is again having different number of things. So let's try to understand try to write the locator in a different way. So we generally have to write a locator which is unique in nature. Okay. So for this, we have this register is basically working as a button. This is a button available. So we can also write a locator saying that we can also write a locator which we can say it as page dot get by role. Get by role is a method that Playwright has given, which says that if an element is having a name as button, if an element, this element is basically have been developed using a button tag. If you see over here, this is a button tag, and that is why we know that this register element is a button over here. Okay. So whenever you see any button element over here, you can also write by using a get by role method. I'll explain this in greater details again in our other session, and you can also filter it out with the name of the button that you are trying to select. So we can simply say it as the name of the button is register over here that we are trying to create. And you can also add another example where we can say it as exact true value that we are trying to say. Exact true means we are only trying to search for a button which is having the name as exactly register that we have given over here. And then on that button, we can click. Click is a method that is used to click on the element. Do not worry if you definitely you might not be having any kind of idea for this. We'll go through in detail at the time of understanding the locator. Okay, and now our main validation have to be that as soon as we click on register button, this will take us to this particular page, which is login page, right? So we can identify whether after successful registration, whether we have moved to the login page or not. So for that, we can try to identify the locator where it says that either this login header, login that it is displaying over here, or the register button over here, or with the login button as well over here. So we can try to identify with any of the unique element that it is matching over here. So we have this login button, which is again working as a button over here, which is again having a name as button, but there are different buttons. This is also a link available. This is also a button. This is also a button. Having the login name, and login text over here. So let's try to define it in this way, which is we know that there are different logins available, which is 7 different logins are available over here. So let's try to write in different ways. So this is the button name that it has. This is the class name that it has for this button, which is again identifying multiple elements. So let's try to identify with this login that we have. For this one, we have a class name as this, which is mat mdc car title. Let's try to see. This is identifying two different elements. Our required element is at the first place. So we can also say it, we can also append over here a tag name. So tag name dot class name, that we can write it over here. Tag name dot class name inside the this case. And this is able to identify single element. Now you can see this is highlighting over here. As soon as I click enter, this is highlighting login. So we can simply write this locator. We'll say it as page dot locator, which is this located, and then we can write an assertion saying that to be visible. So to be visible is a method which is available inside again expect function, which is helping us to ensure that the locator is available on the page. Okay, so this is a simple login that we basically a script that we have written to register and then move to the login page. Let's try to run this and see whether it is working or not. Okay, and we'll also see like how does it generate the report, and how do we do generally how do we write the script in terms of writing the taking the help of Playwright and JavaScript over here. So we can simply say it as npx playwright test, as we have only one test case, so it will start running this particular test case on different browser over here. Okay, so we have given the Playwright as a wrong type over here. We'll have to give Playwright and then test. Now this time it will start running the similar test case on all the 7 different browsers that we have gone through. It might fail on some browser if it is not supported on that particular browser, but let's see how does it work in general. But okay, we have written everything, but the main thing that we did not write over here, right? The simple things that we forgot to write over here. In this case, if you go and see on this one, let's stop the execution. If you see over here, in this case, what did we miss is to launch the URL. We have written the complete details, but we did not even launch the URL. So we can simply say it as page.goto is a method which is basically helping us in launching the URL, whatever the URL that we have given on the different browser wherever we are trying to run our test case. Now in this case, again, let's try to run the test case. Now this time, this particular test case will start running on all the different browsers. So one by one, it will get opened on the different browser. Wherever it is not supported, there it might fail, but in general, it will start running on all the different browser over here. So you can see like it clicked on register and then did some kind of value over here. On this particular, it got stuck because of other test case that it was because of like that can be a situation with where it might have been waiting for something where it have been failed over on the page. Now what it is saying is here we are trying to work on this particular element to check whether we are trying to check on the element, but it is saying that this is not a checkbox or a radio button, where it have been developed using a div button over here, where it has been developed using basically a div tag. So if check is not working, then there is an alternate. See, I know that I've worked with this particular application many times, right? So there are different kind of options that I wanted to show for one element that you can take the help of. So if check is not working, then you can simply go and perform a click, because on the radio button and checkbox also we are simply trying to click on. Let's try to run on single browser itself for a time being, and then we'll go in another session to run on the different browser. It makes the system very slow to run on the different browser. I have disabled all, only we have one Chromium browser that I have enabled over here. We'll see again going forward how do we run on the different. So you can see like it had started, it did some kind of things, and then it failed at some position where it is saying that when I tried to validate, there are strict mode violation. What it is saying is you have written the code, but that locator is identifying two different elements. it resolved to two different elements, right? So this kind of error that you will generally see whenever you try to write a locator which is matching with n number of locator. Okay, so what did we do over here is, in the previous line we have written a dot first, but here we did not write the dot first. So I wanted to show you one type of error where whenever you try to write a locator which is identifying, which is matching with different kinds of locator, then what kind of error you will get. At that point of time, it will throw you an error saying that strict mode violation. Okay, now again try to run the test case on the same browser. Now it is filling, but again failed at one point of time. Where it has been failed, it is saying that on whatever the element that you are clicking on, that is not basically a radio button or a checkbox, because it have been developed using some other element, and that is where it is not able to identify. So this is the error you will generally get when you are trying to interact, trying to think that something is available as a radio button, but that have not been developed using some few tags that has been given for development of a radio and checkbox. Okay, so let's again try to disable this over here. Now let's again move over here and then see what kind of error that we are trying to that we are getting at the time of running the test case. So again run the similar test case, which is npx playwright test, and this time everything have been passed. Everything have been passed by validating this assertion as well, that we have moved to the login page. How do we know that it has moved to the login page? Let's open the report that it has opened over here. So let's open the report, and here you will see that it is saying pass. All the steps it have been successfully navigated. I clicked on register, and then it also moved at the end to our login page where basically it was trying to identify. So it clicked on, it was taking some kind of element, some kind of time, and that's where it identified the element, some other elements on the page, which you can see like this is basically a test like traces that it generates, the report that it generates, the log file that it generates. Here you can see what it has done. For the first step, this is also known as Playwright inspector tool. Inspector tool will be also similarly, however you see over here. So you can see like on hovering on this element, it says that what kind of action that it is trying to perform. What happened before? There was page empty. What happened after the URL have been launched on the browser? For the next one, if you try to go and see, just try to click on this. It is saying that the next action that I'll be performing on this element. What happened before? Nothing. What happened after? It filled the element. For the next element as well, you'll see all those details. After it filled, before nothing, action, it is saying that I'll perform on this element. So every time whenever it tries to generate the element, it will try to generate some kind of actions that where it is trying to perform, where it is trying to fill the element, where it is trying to click the element, and so on. So all the details it will generate over here. And also you can see the recording as well for the steps that it has followed over here in terms of test recordings. Okay, so this is how we generally write the test case inside the Playwright, either using TypeScript or using JavaScript. So you can also convert this in a form of TypeScript, and it will also work in the same way as it has worked for JavaScript. Okay, now now we are on the time, but I'll just take 5 more minutes to show you one other tools that we have, which we have gone through, like Playwright Inspector tool, which will give you the what happened before, what happened after. That means time travel as well, which will help us in terms of debugging. Now we have one more tool known as CodeGen. So let's try to see what is CodeGen over here. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to launch this particular browser, and we'll try to generate the script that we have written over here. We'll try to generate the script that we have written over here in this case. Okay, so to open the CodeGen tool, we have a command known as npx playwright CodeGen, and then you can also provide the URL that you are automatically trying to launch. So as soon as you hit enter, This will open a browser, and this will also open. So this is a browser where it has launched this particular URL. And this has also opened a inspector tool if you try to see. So if you see, this is the browser that it has opened, and this is also Playwright Inspector, which is also known as a code gen tool. Okay, so as soon as we have launched the URL, you can see that it has started writing the test case in the same way as we have written test title, asynchronous function, and the first step is to launch the URL. Now what we'll try to do is we'll try to fill some kind of value over here. So we have clicked on this, and then we are trying to fill some values. Again, click on this and then try to fill some values. Let's say, again, let's say testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Password, some value we can try to enter it over here. Again, password, we can enter some values. We can also check on the, let's say, this particular radio button. And we also have some kind of assertion. You can also write the assertion over here. So let's say, I'll just say it as visibility of this particular element. After basically writing the assertion, we'll say that, let's say assert, there are different options that are available. There are assert value, assert text, assert visibility. We'll see other things going forward as well. But let me try to say that this is assert this value have been displayed over here or not. And also, then the next one will be to click on register button. So click on this. But before that, let's try to see what happened in terms of code gen over here. So whatever the steps that we have followed, it has automatically generated the script that we have generated in the last 40 minutes. Whatever the steps that we have followed, we have navigated, we have entered first name, which is testing, test2, testing 1, 2, 3, and so on. Password, exact password. It has also clicked on radio button, and it is saying that to be visible. That means we are also able to write the assertion over here. And then at the end, when we try to click on register, this register, it will also display the register, and then we can say the visibility of this particular element to be located over here. So this will also identify whether we have moved to the login page or not. For this, everything it has written over here, whatever we have written by itself, right? What you can do is you can simply copy this, close this one, and then you can also write another test case over here by saying this one. Let's remove this. That is not required because we have already imported over here. So this is our second test case that we have written by using the code gen tool. We did not write manually all the steps over here. We have taken the help of code gen tool to generate the script. You can mark it as dot only. Do not worry what we have written. When on whatever the test case that you are trying to run, if you try to mark it as dot only, at that point of time, only that particular test case will run, even if you have 100 test case or 1000 test case. So now this time you will see that this is running the test case that have been generated by code gen tool. Okay, how do I know that this has run the test case that have been generated by code gen tool that we have generated over here? You can go inside this, open the report, and then you will see that this is saying test. This is the title of the test case, whatever the title that we have given over here. What is the title that we have given for this code gen? We have given a test over here. For this one, the name is first test case. The title is first test case. And for this one, the title is test. So that is what it has generated over here. All the steps that it has followed, it has gone through. All the steps that it has performed, it has taken the screenshot as well, generated the traces, generated the video recording as well. You can see over here all the steps that it is following over here in terms of this. Okay, so it exactly generates in the same way, and this script that it had generated by using the CodeGen tool is 99% reliable. This is not like a Selenium IDE tool. This is a dependable tool where you can depend on this particular tool to generate the test script 99% of the time. Okay, so that's about our agenda for today's. I hope this should be some really helpful to understand how do we write the test case, how do we take the help of inspector tool to identify or to debug the test case, and how do we generate the test script on fly by using the command that we have written over there by using code gen tool. So where did you enter the base URL? So we have given the base URL. I believe like at that point of time itself, you have asked the question when we were trying to run the test case. At that point of time, we did not write how many types of locators we will learn and which one is the best. So there are different types of locator. One is CSS selector, other is XPath, and the other is Playwright get by locator. So all these locators that you see over here have been used by using Playwright get by locator. The best one that we have is Playwright get by locator and the CSS selector. Playwright also suggests that do not use XPath in terms of working with Playwright, but XPath will also be supported over here. The best one is Playwright get by locator and then the CSS selector. Okay, so that's about it from my side. Any question that you people have? If you are new to here, please share your contact number and name. From tomorrow onwards, you people will start getting the document. For sure, from tomorrow onwards, you will start getting the documents that I was talking earlier. So for that, please share your name and contact number. Over to you people. If you have any kind of questions, feel free to ask.
I have executed the script, but I'm not able to see the report.
I'll connect with you. I'll connect with you in just a few minutes. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead and ask the questions if you have any. Yes, Sindhu.
Hello, sir. By Playwright, dynamic table will be handled.
Yes, yes. You will be able to see. You will be able to handle a dynamic element, dynamic table, and the calendar part as well.
Okay, and
So
one more question actually. Sometime you show the this code right from where we are extracting the expert and all. No, in the element in the browser.
right, this one.
This one. So one my problem is that the developer writing this code in a Angular code for front end. So it will be finding expert is same or it will be different.
Right. So finding the locator is exactly same, whether that have been developed using Angular, React, or any kind of front end development technology. Any kind of application that have been developed using any of the technologies, the finding locators will be exactly same. There will not be any kind of difference.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hi, Praveen. This is Sindhu.
Yes. Yes, Sindhu.
I have questions. One, I just came to know that even React it supports by your response to the other question. I have one question whether this supports any application which is built on framework and drag and drop feature. Does
Yes.
can we even do automation on these using Playwright?
Yes. So that part also we have when we'll go and see the drag and drop as a mouse operation part. So everything that other tools are able to support, Playwright will also be able to support. Whatever the application that you are trying to automate, every type of automation, this Playwright will also support to automate the application, except the application that will be, it is not coming to my mind but that will be for insurance process and all. If you have worked for Anthem clients, sometimes you might be knowing there used to be some application which is again not a web application. So if something is not a web application, for that it will not work. But apart from, if you are trying to work with any of the web application, that will work. Either it used to be a single page application or used to be a multi-page application or different kind of framework that it has been developed, different kind of language that it have used to develop. For all the things, the Playwright will support over there as well.
Okay. Thank you, Praveen.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. When we
Hi,
actually
Praveen. This is Ram here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just I've got a couple of questions there. So the test which you run is on the browser with a single test. Let's say in my project we have got like hundreds and thousands of the test automation packs. So could we run that in the cloud platforms like Browser Stack or the Source Labs? I mean, can we get integration? Is it configurable from the Playwright?
Yes, you can integrate on any of the cloud platform. Either it used to be AWS, GCP, Azure, Browser Stack, and there used to be Source Lab and any other things. You will be able to integrate in the same way as it supports from the other tools.
And how complex is that? Is it is it lightweight to configure those, or is it?
It is easy to configure. We just have to provide how do we connect to the browser stack or Source Lab.
Sure. Okay. And then
So
second question is this: I've seen that promise which you have used all those async and awaits. So could we configure at one place? Is it? I mean, going forward, I'm sure we would be optimizing the code, right? Like rather than writing in every line of the code.
So this async and await will be used for each and every line of code.
So
there is no alternative for async and await. You have to write async on the function level and await on the step level. Why do we write? We'll get to know in our later part of our session that why do we write async await over here.
Sure. And you have used the placeholder, right? So is that a keyword or in Playwright?
It's an attribute. It's an attribute for element. So if you see over here, if you go inside this, you'll find a placeholder as an attribute for the element. This is a placeholder, which is a property or attribute of an element. Attribute of this body.
This specific property attribute for this specific application, right? Like as you mentioned, placeholder is equal to first name, the attribute. It could be anything, right, but the developer design as placeholder.
It can be anything. Yes. Yeah, yes. It is also having ID. It is also having form control name. So there can be different attribute for one element.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Any other question from anyone else?
Yeah, sir, like Selenium, we are creating the generic code like utils. Here also same concept is there or it different?
Right. So if you want to create any generic frameworks, the concept is same. We can create a generic framework as well, but there will be a very minimum generic method that we have to create in terms of Playwright, because Playwright will mostly support most of the things automatically. So we just have to write the code for generating the test case, test step, and few other generic methods that we'll be seeing again at the time of framework generation. So yes, it also supports the similar kind of utility methods and classes that you can create inside the Playwright as well.
Okay, sir. And another question, if I want to transfer the code, import and export in another way, it is also possible. Like in the Java code, Java project or Selenium project, we are export and send to our any Git repository. We are keep it, right?
Yes, we'll keep it inside the Git. Yes.
Okay, so extracting is possible. Import or export is possible.
Yes.
The code.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sir, I have a doubt regarding that commands. Yesterday, while we installed that Playwright, we were using that npm command, and today for this to run this cases, we were using that npx. Right? Is there any difference between these keywords like npm and npx?
Right. npm is used to manage the software that have been developed using Node.js and JavaScript. npm stands for Node Packaging Manager. npx stands for Node Packaging Executor. So whenever we have to execute something, we have to use npx over here. So if you do not want to use npx, we'll also use npm, but we'll see like in our later sessions that how can we run the test case by using npm as well. npm we mostly use to install something, NPX we use to run or execute some kind of code.
Okay. And one more thing, when we execute these test cases each time, are we overriding the same report again and again, or are we generating separate reports?
This will override the report. We can also generate the separate report depending on like when we ran, on what day we ran, depending on the time that we can also generate the separate report. But whatever the report that we have seen, it will override every time over here.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of this node package manager, NPM, as you mentioned, there is also one more alternative, Yarn, as well, right? Praveen, like, can we use Yarn for package managers for running the commands, or we strictly have to use in Playwright only NPM Playwright?
Mostly we'll be using NPX itself over here, NPX and NPM in terms of running the test case for Playwright.
Okay, and you must have heard about this Yarn as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know like what is the use of Yarn.
Are we allowed to use it?
You can try it out. I've never tried in terms of the
Sure.
Playwright. I've tried it for Cypress, but not for the Playwright. You can try it out once and check if it is working or not. But generally, like NPX and NPM will be user friendly over here to run the test case.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from anyone else?
Couple of questions.
Okay, yes, Kavita. So I'll just connect with you after our session. If you have any generic question, you can ask it over.
Yeah, in Selenium we have actions, right? Like move to
Actions
element.
class, yes.
Yeah. In this also we have?
No, we do not have actions class. Actions is related to Selenium. Here we have some different operation that we can do over here. So we'll see again that in our later part, but that is very easy in terms of the Playwright, rather than using like actions and then use action dot move to element dot do some kind of operations and all. Here we'll see like how do we handle those kind of operations.
Okay. So in one application we had frames. So if we want to switch on to frame main and the child frame, like is it possible with Playwright?
Everything is possible with Playwright, or whatever we do by using other tools. So you can see this is a test case for frames over here. We have written a frames. We can also switch to the frame. We can also identify the frames. We can also write some kind of locators, and then again we can switch back to the main page as well. So that is also possible in terms of Playwright as well.
What we have done is you have mentioned in the script thread.sleep, right? So in order to overcome, we have written on button to wait some time. That is like using retry mechanism. So can we able to do like that in Playwright?
Yes, we'll also be able to do waiting for an element, or generally we do not require, but all the actions that we are trying to, all the method that we are trying to use, Playwright will automatically support waiting for an element. That is again one of our advantage that we have in terms of Playwright.
So some of the applications require OTP generation, right? So can we handle that OTP as well using Playwright?
So OTP generation, generally none of the tools will support. We have to take the help of some other APIs to integrate with. And as we know that the Playwright also support the API testing, so integration will be very easy. That means even OTP validation you will be able to perform by using Playwright in an easier manner than other tools.
Okay. So in Selenium, if we want to upload or download files, we have something called external tool like Sikuli or AutoIt. So in this, any possibility is there for downloading, uploading files?
Yes, we do have the support of uploading and downloading the files inside Playwright, and that's just by using a simple method known as set input file. Set input file is a method which basically upload the file, and we'll also see for the downloading file as well. So that is also supported by the Playwright.
Okay, so if we want to integrate using Jenkins, we had like certificates for pipeline execution, and we wrote a YAML file as well as the certificate information we have given in Selenium to run the pipeline. So here also we can
We'll see regarding
write
the
that
CI/CD pipeline using
certificate.
Jenkins. We'll also see regarding whenever we go for the Jenkins certificate and all will also be taken care, but we like those kind of complexity will not be here in terms of Playwright. We'll see again, like all the concept that you are trying to ask will also be covered in terms of the our session. So we can, whenever we go for that, we'll see like how does it support one by one concept whenever we go for going inside the test case. But again, whatever the questions that you ask is a valid one, and all the things will be supported inside the Playwright as well. If you have, let's say, worked on Java and whatever the let's say worked on Selenium earlier, and whatever it supports the Selenium, the similar things will also be supported over here inside the Playwright as well, including the certification that you are trying to talk about.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Any other question that you have, Kavita, for now?
When I executed using show
Okay, for
report.
that I'll check with you for that.
Okay.
Any other question from anyone else?
Previn, one more question I have. This is Sindhu.
Yes.
We have shown code gen and it auto generated some code. So, and we have only given the URL of the website, right?
Right.
So only by giving the website, it auto generates the code, or we have to do it manually and then.
Right. We have to
Okay.
navigate manually inside the application and then it will generate the code.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That's it then. If no other question, then thanks a lot everyone for joining today. And we'll again continue tomorrow, where we'll continue in the next session where we'll start with the basics of JavaScript. Okay. Thanks a lot everyone for joining, and we'll continue again in the next session. Kavita, you can stop. You can stay over here. I'll check your issues.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.